They're talking about trying to get Devin Haney to fight Gervonta Davis now.
Yeah, they said the WBA is gonna like make it a mandatory for the next fight, but I was telling Quincy he has a rematch clause in the fight with Kambosos, so they may have to run it back one more time before he can
yeah. I remember hearing that too. And that's crazy. I know the what's it called? It's a pretty big deal because Haney actually is an undisputed lightweight champion right now.
Yeah, because he just got all the belts last night.
Yep, hasn't been done since like the 90s or something, like early 90s.
Yeah.
That boy's nice.
Nah, yeah, facts.
But yeah, man, the last time we recorded the episode, we were having like mad technical difficulties. And it was like when we first figured out how to record the episodes on video, but then like we didn't really know exactly what we were doing yet.
Yeah.
So when I played back the episode, I'm like, man, I could tell we were just trying to figure out so many things in like the beginning. So I was like, let's just hit it again. You know what I mean? So we can get like the real full experience of it. I know when we originally talked to James, he's the owner of Flight Vintage. If you want to run down a little bit of what you do, where you're based out of, and the stuff you've been involved in, just to let people know.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. My name's James Lee. I'm originally from Maryland. Moved to Connecticut when I was 15, 16 years old. And jumpstart to now, I've run the 80s and 90s vintage clothing business with my girlfriend, and we've been doing this for about 9 years total. Been running the shop for 5 years. So a little bit of everything, 80s, 90s, vintage, streetwear, women's rework stuff. So anything that has to do with the culture, we get our hands on it. We have it available for everybody.
Nice.
That's dope. I know last time when you had linked up with Quincy recently, you were actually in Atlanta for like an actual convention where a lot of the top thrifting people be at, and you guys had set up some space there, and you guys, I believe you told me you sold out of the stuff you had there. Let us know a little bit about how that event went down and kind of like the vibe at those events and what's like the main goal of when you go there.
Yeah, so we did Atlanta ThriftCon, and ThriftCon is like the largest traveling vintage show, you could say. Similar like SneakerCon, but just for, vintage clothing, streetwear, more of a clothing event. And we actually set up with just Flight Girls, which is my girlfriend's like rework, Y2K vintage line that she does. So she does rework vintage pieces, and then she resells Y2K brands such as like Ed Hardy, Von Dutch, brands like that, like early 2000s brands. And we had a 10 by 10 booth. We set up with maybe like 6 or 7 racks, and yeah, we damn near sold out. And then we went home with maybe a rack or 2 out of like the 7 that we brought. So it was definitely a crazy turnout. They had sold about 10,000 tickets, and it was wild. So it was definitely worth the drive down, because we actually drove down for that one from Connecticut. Yeah. And it was dope for sure.
That's dope. What was kind of like the vibe there, and what was some super dope pieces that you kind of seen there, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, so the vibe, it was cool. I mean, you have all types of sellers. So you got vintage sellers, you got people with their own, clothing lines, clothing brands that set up, women's clothing, men's clothing, streetwear, a little bit of sneakers, and it's just a good vibe. A lot of people from different areas. So it was tons of people, obviously from Atlanta, people from Florida, people from LA, Denver. So when ThriftCon touches down in whatever city, you get, a good mix of variety of people from all over. So, and it's a real big community, because a lot of the homies that set up at the shows, you see them, in each city. So whether it's Atlanta or the next city, like what's coming up, July, will be in Houston. See some of the same people that we seen in Atlanta, you know what I mean? So it's cool to just travel city to city, lock in, network with the same groups of people, and do what we chop it up about t-shirts and everything like that. I didn't get to do too much walking around, so I didn't get to see as much as I wanted to see, but anything from like rap tees to a ton of Marvel collectors were there. What else? Like I said, a lot of Y2K, early 2000s stuff. So like your FUBU, Ed Hardy, Von Dutch, those brands that have kind of like resurfaced and are popping again. So a good variety of anything from like the 80s all the way to like what's current now, streetwear, Supreme, Bape, all that. So it was definitely a good vibe for sure.
So, question. So what are some of the like sought after merch items, like either regular or bootleg stuff? Like I know you were mentioning before there was certain types of bootlegs that are even sought after, and like the way that these kind of come about and like how they become sought after. Like explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so I would say like one of the most like popular sought after pieces as far as like vintage tees go is going to be rap tees, specifically bootleg rap tees. So the difference between like a bootleg and an authentic is like in the 80s, 90s, when those concerts was coming to different cities, you had, official tour merch where, the artists would partner with like Winterland or what's another brand? Like Winterland, Gildan, Delta, whoever they wanted to print their shirts, and they would do an official merch tour line of like different tees, which had all the dates on it. Then you had the bootlegs, which is like the guys in the parking lot selling, the t-shirts for 10, 15 bucks. The thing is with vintage, the bootleg stuff is more sought after just because like it's not the original print. It's usually big graphic, tees. It's usually like a Google image or something that somebody took off the internet, got it screen printed and kind of just ran with it. And a lot of those are more, desirable than like the authentics.
Mm-hmm. I remember you telling me about the Biggie shirt when we were there. One of the vendors had the Biggie shirt from when, he passed away, and they had the whole, I guess like rally in New York, about him, and they were selling like the little $5 shirts. And like now that shirt, I think you said it's worth like what, $800, $900?
Yeah, probably anywhere between $800 to probably like $1,200 now. And it's crazy because like if you Google Biggie Memorial or like his funeral that day, where like they did his last ride like through Brooklyn where he was brought up, you'll see people holding up that same tee that we saw. You know what I mean? And it was just something that somebody had got printed probably the day or a couple days before the funeral, and it just said, memory of, B.I.G. And it was just a kind of like a cartoon photo of his face. And, dope colors, dope graphic, and somebody probably got it printed on whatever cheap tees that they had around back then. Probably ran 100, 200 copies of the t-shirt and probably sold them for $10 right at the funeral. So it's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's crazy, man. That's even like crazy to think that that's something that can become so sought after and such a valuable piece of history when the person that did it, they might not even have been thinking that way. You know what I mean? They might have just thought, hey, let me try and get these shirts off. You know what I mean? I got a t-shirt printer, sure. Let me make a quick buck. And it ends up being what it ends up being. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because like even now, like when we go to little events, we went to, we were just talking about boxing a little bit before. We had actually went to the Gervonta Davis fight in LA in December. Wow. And they had vendors outside selling, the t-shirts. And, it's crazy, 20, 30, 40 years from now, those may be worth, a couple dollars, you know what I mean? And we got like 4 or 5 of them and just paid $10, just kind of like just grab them. So, when you go to like concerts or like any type of event and, most likely there's going to be somebody outside bootlegging some t-shirts, $10, grab a couple. You never know, it may be worth a couple hundred down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's dope. And a lot of times those designs be super dope. You know what I mean? I remember, I think it was Rolling Loud. Somebody had picked up like one of the hats that weren't from the official Rolling Loud, and it
That
was
was
like
me.
doper. It was you?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, like the Rolling Loud ones, they were like real simple, like kind of cheap ones. But like the ones that they were selling like bootlegging, they were like nice, like you know what I mean, like nice threading and everything. It was like so random.
Yeah.
It's
Better
crazy
quality than
because
the inside stuff.
it's crazy because talking about that, like some stuff that's current, you know what I mean, that's not necessarily vintage, but it's still like tour merch that's popular, is all the Travis Scott stuff. So he does, so Travis Scott does two types of merch. So he has like his official merch, which is a little bit more like detailed. He put a little bit more work into it. The tees are a little bit better quality, and that's what he drops on his website. And then you have the merch that they just print on like whatever they can get their hands on right before the show at the venues. And it's crazy, like Astroworld, when he did the Astroworld tour, some of those shirts, I think they were like $20, $30 retail. They're anywhere from like $100 to $150. I mean, if you have them brand new now. Yeah. So it's crazy, and that's current. You know what I mean? So it just tells you, like, everybody listening, if you out there, when you go to these concerts, whether you want to wear it or not, grab a tee or two. You know what I mean? And maybe worth a couple dollars.
Yeah.
Did you grab some of that Astro World merch, Quincy?
I didn't, because I wasn't up on game yet. I just started getting merch from like festivals and stuff like that probably like a couple years ago, but not with that Astro World.
Or did you grab any when you went down to Dreamville?
Yeah, I got a couple Dreamvilles shirts. I got a hoodie. That one, I actually got some stuff that I know I wanted to keep, but I also got stuff that I was like, you never know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I mean, I tell people like, that aren't into, collecting t-shirts or collecting merch or clothes or anything. If you go to an event, whether it's sports, music, whatever it is, if they have merch, buy it. You know what I mean? Buy one t-shirt, put it up, not even just, off the resale perspective, but just off the fact that that's still a memory. You know what I mean? You have the visual memory of you going to the event, but now you have something tangible, something physical that you'll always have from that, event that you went to.
Fast.
I'm big on that. I always get like a hat or a shirt or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every time I go somewhere, I look for like the dopest looking thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get that.
Yeah.
I'm mad because like in my early 20s, I just like, I didn't go to like concerts as a kid or as a teen. Like I started going to stuff like that like in my early 20s, and I hit a lot of stuff, man. And like I'm mad that I'm just getting on game with like getting merch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because like when I was coming up, I didn't go to too many concerts either, but I've gone to like good stuff that I probably should have got merch. Like I remember going to see Jordan play for the Wizards. Whew. And I remember they had like Nike shirts with Jordan on it and everything. They were selling them, and they was probably like $20. And I just, I wasn't on it yet. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I was just appreciative to go to the game. So I wasn't thinking about, asking my parents, hey, buy me this t-shirt or this hat.
Fact.
You know what I mean? And now, that stuff is collectible. So
that's wild.
Yep. I remember a few years ago, Rolling Loud used to do like a mystery bag where you just tell them your size.
Yeah.
And they will send you like 6 shirts and a hat. And in one of the times that I went to the concert, they had ran out of something, and she was like, check the site. When I checked the site, they had what they had ran out of, and I ordered it, and I ordered that mystery bag too. And it came with like all different shirts from like Rolling Louds from past years. You know what I mean? It was like 6 different Rolling Loud shirts from like, cause I think when we went, it was what, 2018? 2019. Yeah. It was 2018, and like they had shirts in it from like 17, from 19, from, you know what I mean? Like it had shirts from like that range in there.
Yeah, that's crazy that they even had something like a package like that, like you were saying. That's dope.
Yeah, they had to have like just found like mad random stuff in the warehouse or something. And was like, yo, we need to get these shirts off.
Yeah, and it's crazy because now with a lot of concerts, like you get people that will go just for the merch.
Yeah,
like, people will go like, yo, I need to get one of each: hoodie, hat, t-shirt, all that. And some people won't even like. I know people that went to the unfortunate, the last Travis Scott concert, that was they had an unfortunate what happened, to those people. But like the line for the merch, they had pictures of it. They had to shut it down because there was thousands of people just coming just to get the merch, obviously to flip and resell. And it's crazy.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, that's a crazy time to be doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I went to the Made in America festival where Jay-Z headlined one night and J. Cole headlined the other night. And I'm so mad I didn't get merch, bro. Like, I didn't know back then. It was like 2017. Like I said, I just got on it probably in 2018 when I went. That hat list was the first thing that I probably bought from a concert, bro. Because I was just like,
dang,
not on it, bro. Like, I was like, I'm here for the concert. You know what I mean? Like,
I always grab stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like in high school, like coming up, we have a spot up here in Connecticut called Toad's Place. And they like, that's like a venue that all artists come through when they come, to New Haven area, right by Yale. And we saw Wiz Khalifa on the Cushion OJ tour. Nice. We saw Mac Miller on the Kids tour. Big Sean on Finally Famous tour. And bro, we didn't grab no merch. No merch. And this is like all those artists, like obviously you know how big they are now. Yeah. But this was like their first tour. Facts. And we wasn't even on game to grab the merch back then. It's crazy.
Nah, I feel you. Like the one thing that I always was very conscious of from before was with basketball. Like I always told myself, like, I gotta see all these dope dudes play in person. Like I've seen everybody, you know what I mean? Like there's like not really, I think the only person I haven't seen play live is like people like Devin Booker, you know what I mean? Like, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It ain't that serious to me right now to catch him live.
Yeah, no, they still working their way up. But yeah, that's one thing I'm glad. Obviously, like Jordan being my favorite player, I'm glad I didn't get to see him with the Bulls, but I got to see him. And it's crazy because the game I went to was the game he dropped like 40 or 50, and that was like his only I think it was the game he dropped 50. That was like his only 50-point game with the Wizards. So. That was definitely dope. And it's crazy because I was older Jordan and he was still getting off like it was easy for him.
Yeah.
Yo, it's crazy. Like thinking about even stuff like that. Like I remember, I think you had went too, Quincy, in wrestling when Brock Lesnar body slammed a Big Show and the whole ring broke.
Yes.
That was in Orlando and I was there.
Yep. And like I still to this day, bro, like don't even realize, like, it's crazy that it hasn't processed that. Like, that's such a big moment in wrestling, bro. Like, a big moment, dog. Shit's crazy.
Imagine, like, since we on that topic, imagine, like, the merch that was at the wrestling, shows. It's crazy. Like, think
I had them shirts,
Stone Cold, Hulk, Undertaker, all those guys, like.
Yo, that WWE merch goes crazy.
Yeah.
I follow this one dude. Yo, he be selling them easy $350, $500. Like just like shirts from like random WWE events like throughout time, like.
And that's crazy because WWE is actually like obviously that's newer than WCW. And if you find the WCW tees from like the 80s and early, like late 80s going into early 90s, those is like the cream of the crop when it comes to like wrestling tees.
I can see why.
Because
it's crazy.
That was like a one-time thing. Like they were just doing it with whatever town they was in, getting some random shirts printed. Like that's one of them things that you're never getting those again. Like
exactly. And that's what makes, a lot of that stuff like more valuable and more, desirable because it was like only in this city or like this city exclusive or this show exclusive, you know what I mean? So you would have to have gone to the actual event or show to get that merch, you know what I mean? Yep. It's not just like a drop like Supreme or Bape does where like it's on the internet and everybody can buy it. This is like event exclusive merch that you had to go to the event and actually purchase it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Nah, it's crazy how they do like those like limited drops and those like releases like that. Like I know some of the Nike drops even like they won't even let you in the queue if you're not like in Miami or something, because that's like the closest like signature store or whatever that you
when
can
they
get
do
the
like
shoe
the
at.
when they do like the shop drops, and you have to be within like 50 miles or something. It's crazy how they do that. But everything with like merch and everything is like about exclusivity. You know what I mean? So everything has to be exclusive now for people, you know, to want to get it. It's crazy.
That's crazy. That was actually gonna be my next question to you, was like, you know, with all of that being said, you know, what do you think attracts people to merch? And that's what it is. It's the exclusivity of it, knowing like, yo, only a few people got this. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I went to a pop-up shop in LA that like the dude, one of the designers there, he literally only drops it like at the pop-ups, and that like he got that kind of following, you know what I mean? Like he'll do a line for the pop-up and be like, yo, I'm here with this line. You have like the lookbook, you'd be like, all right, bet. You got to catch him at that pop-up, and once he sells it, like that's it. Like he don't make it again. He don't reprint, he don't do nothing. Like if it don't sell out, he has like the pieces as they sell. And he don't even answer people if they ask like for him to reprint or do something like that. Like he just be on to the next one.
Yeah, that's kind of the new wave as far as like with anything really, just exclusivity and like just limited drops, and you know what I mean, just having stuff limited and exclusive for people. Because one, it allows whatever you're dropping, the clothing, to hold its value. And then two, like you said, it's limited. It's like if you see somebody with a certain shirt, you're like, damn, I know you went to LA to the pop-up to get that. You know what I mean? You know, they wasn't able to just purchase it. It wasn't accessible for everybody. So that's what makes you know, a lot of that stuff's cool.
And if you think about it, bro, like I don't remember ever like coming up at, like when it comes to like PlayStation, having to wait. You get what I'm saying? Like they've always had it where it's like when we drop it, if you want it, you can buy it. You know, but like with the PS5, they really made people like wait, you know what I'm saying, to have it like where it was easily accessible. And that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a marketing tool, because it's like with the PS5, now we know they have more than enough PS5s to just have them on the shelf for everybody to purchase, but they decided to do them in drops to build the hype. So then when they're sold out, now you wait a week, and all those people that didn't get one, you know, are seeing the people that did get one, and they're like, damn, I gotta get one. So now you look on StockX, you got people paying $1,000, $1,500 for PS5s that came out for $500. You know what I mean? So it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it's super dope. Like I'm always big on like, whenever I go somewhere to get something that is specific to that area, like even like some regular stores you can go to, like, you know, I don't know, like even PacSun, like you might go and they might have like something specific to that town that you can't get like in your town, you know what I mean? Like I always like grabbing stuff like that. And like what you were saying, if I grab something in a pop-up somewhere, it's very unlikely that when I'm walking around over here, somebody else is gonna have that shirt or something. You know what I mean? So it's just like always dope having that like different vibe. You know, you're not wearing the same outfit everybody else wearing.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all remember the back in the day. What's the movie? Menace to Society, when he had on the Guess jeans striped tee when he was in the liquor store. Yeah. So obviously those are vintage. Those are like 80s pieces, but Guess redid them, and they did a couple different lines. They redid them and just did different colors, and then they did a collab with A$AP Rocky and dropped them. And it was crazy because in the Soho, like in the New York Guess store, A$AP Rocky pulled up and did like a specific color that he wanted to drop, and it was only available at that location at that one day. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's crazy. Like stuff like that doesn't happen every day. Everybody can't get their hands on it. And, you know, you kind of just had to be in New York that day, know what was going on, you know, and get to that store just to get that t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? That's wild. It's crazy.
It's a market, man. It's crazy to see. And that's what, like, when I went with you to the ThriftCon, you know, that's kind of what opened my eyes just to that whole side of business, marketing, that industry, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's dope to see that, you know what I'm saying? The fact that a $5 shirt that somebody just printed is worth like, you know, a band now, like, you know what I'm saying? That is wild, bro. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like, I was talking to my grandfather about this. It's almost like old cars. Like a lot of cars from back in the day, you can't, you know, get the parts again. So just the parts alone, whether the car is running or not, brings the value like to astronomical numbers. Yep. Just because of, you know, the age and the you know, exclusivity of the parts and stuff like that. It's crazy. So like, you take that one aspect and go across the board with clothes, anything else, it's all, you know, kind of falls under the same thing. It's wild.
Yeah, and then even like how cars always do those drops of like a limited drop that might have something different in the engine, might have like an upgrade, you know, in the shocks or suspension or something, and they only make like 500 of them. And then those be the ones that, you know, 20 years later, you might have bought it for like 25, 30,000 and, you know, you might get $100K for it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just dope how like it all kind of ties back to like the vintage and the merch and everything, because it's just the same thing is basically everything is marketed that same way, like same way with the Apple products, you know what I mean? Like they make a less amount at the drop because they don't want everybody to have them when it drops, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want people to show them to other people like, oh man, look what it does. Oh, look at this feature. Like, you know what I mean? That you want to build it, and then you drop more and then people come in greater waves because they're seeing it in action with their friends, you know what I mean? Yeah. The iMessage, that's the same reason they got that, you know what I'm saying? That exclusivity. Everybody want to see that blue message come through, you know what I mean? They don't want to see the green.
Yeah, it's crazy because like, I don't know if maybe this is something I picked up on, or, you know, maybe it's something that like Apple does in general, but have you ever noticed like how your old Apple device somewhat like starts slowing down or acting up right when a new device is about to come out?
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works, because like I have like my iPad, like the first iPad I ever bought, mind you, good condition, never dropped it, none of that. For some reason, it just doesn't work at all now. Like it won't even charge. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because then they just push the next iPad and they push the next iPhone. You know what I mean? And then the older devices don't work anymore, but they're still like collectible. Like if you go online and look up the first iPod, like you could probably, I think it probably costs like $500-$600 just for the first one, the first generation one, and you probably can't get it, you know, anywhere else. So. Crazy. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, even like this mouse right here, like this is a iMac, like original iMac mouse, you know what I mean? And I got like the original iMac keyboard because I just think it's dope, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Original, like that's what I'm big on. Original is always like better. I try to like tell people ask me, you know, what's the it factor about like vintage tees? Like what's the it factor about it? I'm like, I was talking to a sneakerhead. I'm like, well, let's compare it to sneakers. Are you going to wear fake J's? Or are you going to wear the original? You know what I mean? You may wear retros, but it's the same thing with clothes. Like you're going to want that like original t-shirt or that original sweatshirt or whatever versus like a reprint one that they sell at like Urban or, you know, Kohl's or something like that. Those people that are like really into those things are going to want like the original of it. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yep. And people, a simple thing people could do too, like, y'all could start noticing like, who are these designers of like stuff that you like? Because they be doing a lot of collabs with like a lot of other brands, you know what I mean? Like you might find like a designer or two that you're like, you look at the piece and you're like, oh, see the name on it. And then you start kind of following them, you know, maybe follow them on Instagram or something. And you'll see like they might do a collab with like PacSun and then do something with like Adidas, you know what I mean? Like you do something with Uniqlo, like they be jumping around and doing all these collabs. And once you know like the kind of stuff you like, you kind of already know where those are going to be, you know what I mean? Like what spaces those kind of pieces are going to be.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's all about collabs. exclusivity. It's that's the marketing game now. That goes for everything on every platform, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. You know, whatever you're into, whatever you got, you know, going on, most likely somebody's gonna make it exclusive or limited or a collab or something to give, you know, extra, you know, notch to get it out to the people.
True.
Hey man, yeah, that's kind of even like the big thing with the NFT space. You know what I mean? Like those communities, the Discords. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like what's driving the whole thing. It's like you get one of these NFTs from a limited drop, and you're part of that community. All those other people that own those, like you're all kind of like interacting, and you're all kind of trying to work together to bring the price up.
Yeah, because it's crazy because I'm not fully into the NFT space yet, but when you were talking about Discord groups, like there's Discord groups for streetwear drops and sneaker drops now. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy just how like you have to join a group, or like a lot of dudes that, you know, like backdoor shoes or get stuff in bulk. They start these Discord groups, have people pay a membership to join to get access, you know what I mean, to bulk Yeezys or bulk Jordans or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's crazy that we went from, you know, just waking up, going to Foot Locker, standing in line for a little bit, getting your pair, to now you got to join a Discord group or buy a bot or, you know what I mean, do something crazy just to get, you know, an item.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what I like so much about pop-ups. It's like it makes getting these things more accessible. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get the right people, the right brands to be involved in them, it's like, all right, this is happening here on this day. You can go there. There's going to be, you know, 10 different people that are going to have different types of pieces that you can choose. You know what I mean? It's not something that like, because like you were saying about the sneakers, like that's something that's even like discouraged me from collecting sneakers. And I'm like a big sneakerhead, but it's so hard to get them now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I just can't I'm not trying to go these extraordinary lengths to get a pair of shoes. You know what I mean? Like it's different than how it was before.
Or pay that price.
Yeah, or pay like a crazy premium. You know what I mean? Back in the day, it was like they gonna add like $30 to $50. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you call it a day. Now it's crazy. You know what I mean? They're taking regular dunks and charging $350 for them. Like, come on, man. A pair of dunks.
You got, like, if I'm trying to pay for a bot, you know what I mean, and I got to do this and I got to do that just to get it, then I still got to get my profit. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy how that drives the market up, bro. Like,
it's crazy because now, like, not just with shoes, but, you know, with everything, the market, like just clothing in general and sneakers, is going towards more of a resale route than being able to go into like Foot Locker, Champs, Finish Line. Like that's not even the go-to for a lot of people now. A lot of people, you know, Quincy knows, we went to a couple spots in Atlanta. A couple of my homies got stores out there, and you can just see what's in there and what's available. You're going to pay the premium, but everything's here. It's available here versus, you know, trying to go catch Foot Locker at 8 a.m., you know, stand in line, first come, first serve for some shoes, or try to, you know, catch the raffle on your phone. It's almost like kind of setting people up to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the secondary market, you know, this resale shop, and just get my stuff there. You know what I mean? It's just more convenient for people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of it's dope. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy at the same time, but it's also dope that it's like gotten to this point where there are so many different outlets like you could even go to like get certain pieces and just get that certain vibe. You know what I mean? At least like before, it was a lot harder. I don't know about where you was at, but like out here in Orlando, like in Florida and stuff, like there wasn't a lot of stores like that had like those, you know, more exclusive pieces or like those limited drops and stuff like that. Like it was real hard to find it at the time. Like it's gotten a little better now, but even now it's like not the same as like, for example, like Miami, you know what I mean? Like a place like that, LA, of course, you know what I'm saying? New York.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because that goes back to like what we were talking about, like with the shows that we do. So like ThriftCon or SneakerCon, like when I talk to people, a lot of people tell me like, you know, in between these shows, I don't go, you know, shopping. I wait for a show or an event to come and I'll just shop there because I know everything's so exclusive or hard to get that people rather just save their money and say, hey, I'm going to this event. I'm gonna get some personal pieces. I may see that pair of shoes that I always wanted there, or I may see that shirt I wanted or that jersey. And it's just kind of changing, retail in general overall. Like a lot of brick and mortars, people are switching from brick and mortar to just online. People are switching from brick and mortar to just, traveling, doing events and showcases. So it's just crazy how stuff evolves over time.
Feel that.
Yeah, man. It's like you said, it's dope to see how far it's come. And like how it's evolving, and like even like what you do, you know what I'm saying? Like where you take the vintage and you guys are even reworking certain pieces to kind of like bring them back to life. That's even pretty dope because you're finding those pieces that they have like that certain quality or they're sought after, and you're making them something that can be worn now, you know what I mean? Because obviously they had different styles of cuts before, you know what I mean? Like it was a different kind of shape that they were trying to portray. So you got to like change them to make sense now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we try to do, because we get a lot of clothing in bulk in general, so we try not to like waste or just redonate anything. That's why we do like a lot of $5 sales. Like each month in our shop we do a $5 sale, and it's still good product, but a lot of the pieces may be shrunk or may have like a bleach spot on it or something like that. But instead of just redonating it, we put it at a lower price and allow somebody who may just want a couple extra gym shirts or whatever to still purchase it and not resort to going to buy that brand new t-shirt at Urban Outfitters, you know what I mean? So that's the whole thing with vintage and secondhand, is just kind of trying to recycle and rinse and repeat, the pieces and keep them out there, keep life in them.
Yep. And the dope thing people could even do is like buy a tie-dye kit, you know what I mean? Like something got a little stain on it or whatever, faded, you can tie-dye it. Like, and even with the tie-dye, like you don't even have to do it where like you're doing a whole bunch of crazy colors. You just do one color, you know what I mean? Like if it's a white shirt and you're like, oh, I'm gonna turn it red, you know what I mean? You just turn it red.
Yeah, we do that. We do that all the time. I mean, because we in our shop we wash and steam everything before it goes in. But sometimes we get shirts that you just can't get the stains out, and I just make a pile and I do exactly what you said. I'll go to Joann's or any type of Michael's, grab some color dye, and I'll dye a bunch of shirts different colors: blue, green, yellow, orange, whatever. And it's a brand new shirt basically. So.
Yeah, and that's the dope thing about those shops, because you pull up to your shop, for example, and it's like, all right, I'm seeing a whole bunch of dope pieces. They're different than they were originally made. Some of them are in their regular condition, but again, they're hard to find. You know what I'm saying? If they're reworked, it's a one of one. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna find it like that nowhere else. So it's always something that you're gonna be wearing that's gonna be different, that's gonna stand out. You know what I'm saying? That you're not gonna be wearing the same thing everybody else is wearing. And that's like, to me, that's like the thing that I like doing every time I go out. You know what I mean? Like even the way I put it together, it's like, if you have maybe one of the things I have on, you're not wearing it like this, I guarantee it.
Exactly.
So that's the goal every time.
Yeah, and like you said, it's gonna be, especially with vintage, it's gonna be real hard to find somebody with the same exact piece on. And I mean, only place I've even seen that is like market like LA, where there's a ton of vintage stores, ton of streetwear stores, sneaker stores. You're gonna see somebody else with a vintage shirt or whatever, or maybe the same shoes, but it's still so much stuff out there that it's gonna be real hard to like walk down the street and see somebody with the same exact outfit on as you. You know what I mean?
Yep. And honestly, like I feel like one of the things people should do is just support those smaller brands and support those local brands, because that's another thing. Like as long as you see that the quality's there, pick it up, because again, people ain't gonna be wearing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You go out of town or something and it's just a dope piece, and you tell them, oh, you know, it's a spot out where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? It's something that they can't pick up. You know what I'm saying? And it gives them that exclusivity, like he was talking about. You're wearing something different, and it's even as easy as supporting those local brands that still have that dope stuff. You know, it'll give you that same vibe.
Yeah, definitely. I tell people a lot, I feel like whatever you like or whatever you're into, you should be a collector of that thing. You know what I mean? Whether it's like clothing or cars or video games or whatever, you should be like a hoarder to a certain extent, you know what I mean, of what that is, because you never know. And then each thing that you collect or hoard or, you know, keep for a period of time, there's a story behind it. You know what I mean? There's a meaning behind it. And I just feel like people should get more into that instead of, you know, like wearing something once, donating it, or using something and then just like getting rid of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shameless plug, groundedmerch.com.
Word.
Yes, sir. We got some more stuff coming. What's your website, James? I know that has some dope stuff on there too.
We're like revamping it now, but our website is www.flightVintageClothing.com. Definitely, you know, check it out. Everything's up there: streetwear, vintage, women's, little bit of everything.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the links in the episode so everybody can check it out. Links in the video so everybody can check it out. Because like we were saying, you know what I mean, you're wearing some of the merch right now. I mean, we're all wearing some of our own merch right now. Yeah. And you know, it's just like we were saying, you're not gonna see these everywhere. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people, a lot of times, like, for example, you go to a store like Champs or something, and they have like a certain shirt that matches like a certain pair of shoes. It's like, don't get that shirt. You know what I mean? Why would you spend $50 for that shirt that was so clearly made with no thought? They just wanted it to match the shoes that dropped today. Yeah. Like, spend that money with a dope brand, you know what I'm saying? And the shirts are gonna be a lot cheaper, better quality. They're gonna last you longer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's so many different options. Like, when you decide to like go shopping or buying different stuff, like, I feel like people should definitely explore that.
Yeah, definitely. And if you go to stores like Urban Outfitters and kind of look at some of the pieces that are in there, is a lot of it's just reprint of vintage, you know what I mean? Or reprint, or like they try to bring Champion back, or they try to bring this brand back, and they just revamp it when people really want, you know, the vintage stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy how like these big corporations, these big stores know what's popular. And because obviously they can't offer or sell, you know, a used t-shirt or something like that, they just take those images, remake them, and put them out, you know, at a premium price, like you said, on cheap quality t-shirts or whatever. It's crazy.
It's and you always see it, like, you'll hear out of nowhere, like, oh, this certain brand just bought this brand, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you'd be like, what? Why did they do that? Like, and then a year later or something, they got this campaign where they do a collab with somebody, you know, like a A$AP Rocky or something, and like, hey, we coming back. And then just like that, just because they still have the name value of the brand, and it's been long enough that it turns into that vintage product. Now they're, you know, printing money again with it just because they laid low with it.
Yeah, it's crazy because we're like getting into like into Champion, like just college sweatshirts, and just Champion in general was making a comeback like in the vintage world, and a lot of that stuff, the value was rising. And then I started noticing Champion relaunching some of the retro, some of the vintage style stuff that they originally made, remaking it again because it was so popular and people are looking for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's crazy how that works.
One of the like most random things that happened that was like, it wasn't like such a big thing, but it was just so random the way they did it. Was one time Supreme like had sold some blank tees to Kmart or something, and then they had them at Kmart. Like you went to Kmart and they had like just different color blank tees, but they were Supreme branded tees. That they were just selling at Kmart. Like, well, it was so random, and they didn't say nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? They didn't say they were doing that or nothing. It was just like randomly they sold some shirts to Kmart, and they were in some Kmart stores.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like imagine you just go to a Kmart and it's like, oh, okay, you got Supreme blanks for $4.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah,
like
you
even
do
with
whatever.
I don't know if you guys are into like the Essentials Fear of God stuff.
Mhm.
They have it at Nordstrom's and they carry it at PacSun, and it's so hyped up and so many people want it that like PacSun sells out, or like you have PacSun in the mall and Nordstrom's in the mall. They'll have the same drop, but they won't drop it on the same day because so many people, they'll go to PacSun first, buy it all, and then go to Nordstrom's and buy it all. So like now the companies are like, well, we got to make sure we don't put our stuff out on the same day as this store or that store. You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Crazy, bro. And you got to be in that business to know how the market moves like that, because I would have never known that it was like that. You know what I'm saying? To that extent, I would say.
Yeah, definitely with anything that's popular, trendy, not just like streetwear brands, but just like clothing brands in general. Any type of like drop, like you were talking about, like the Uniqlo drops, like how they used to do calls and they did a couple other things. Those, like the way these drops go now, people already know, like weeks ahead. People like camp out for t-shirts just like how they camp out for shoes. It's like it's like a full-blown, it's a full-blown business. And this is not even, everybody that's doing this is not even like resellers necessarily. They're not even necessarily in that business, but because it's so popular and it's just spread through, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, people may just see something like, oh, I gotta go. Let me just go try and get this. You know what I mean? It's almost like scavenger hunting or like treasure hunting. You know what I mean? It's wild.
Yeah, man, it's just a dope little world, and sometimes it's frustrating because, like I said, sometimes it just be so hard to get some stuff that you want, man. Like, like one of the things like that for me that I don't make like a crazy effort to get it, but like I be trying to get them is them CDG Chucks.
Word.
You know what I mean? The blue ones, the blue high top ones. I want those ones. Like I like those joints, but every time I get the notification and I open it up and try to do it, sold out.
Yeah.
Like, dang, man.
That's the thing that messed up the game a little bit, is when they, like, obviously they wanted to, give more people access to the items, but when they switched everything over to like links and emails and made everything digital, is when, that messed it up, because now people have bots for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
It was different when you actually had to go out and wait for something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've camped for stuff before, you know what I'm saying? But it's like now, bro, I can't compete with no bot, bro. You know what I mean? Like, unless I got one, and that's, I'm not that deep into it,
Yeah, like I remember going to, like, remember when you had to go to the sneaker store and put your name and size on the ticket to enter the raffle? Like, people don't even do that anymore. It's online.
I worked at a shoe store, bro. I used to have to put my junk to the side, bro. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, it was crazy, but
It's the Quincy.
but it was, it was dope because you have to actually put the effort to wake up, go there, be there early enough before everybody else. And it was like that for anything, man. Video games back in the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like that for anything. Like, so it was just, now that it's going digital, bro, it's so much less effort to get it. It just takes, you know what I'm saying, computers and money, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, it kind of takes the not the demand out, but like who really wants it? Because most people that buy it now, they buy it for profit rather than to actually keep it,
It kind of pushes the casuals out.
Exactly. And that's why we in the market that we're in,
That's what I was getting at. Like, a lot of people are not in it because they're really in it. They're in it just, like you said, to make money, to make a profit. Like, oh, okay, I'm a tech guy. I know how I can, bought me some J's, bought me some Yeezys or whatever. And hey, I don't wear Yeezys, but hey, I just hit for 20 pair of Yeezys with my bot. Now I can just sell them off to this person, and I made, a couple dollars. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and that's the definition of a hype beast.
Yep. Like literally, StockX made their whole business off of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just was talking to somebody yesterday at the shop about like StockX and how StockX like changed the market of, you know, not just sneakers, but like streetwear in general. But anything comes out or anything drops, people automatically resort to StockX. Where like before, people got to remember, before there was a resale market without StockX. So you didn't have a reference. You could go to any shop, or, you know, if I had a pair of shoes, me and you can have the same pair of shoes and we purchase them for retail. You know what I mean? You could sell yours for $400. I could sell mine for $500, and it wasn't an issue. You know what I mean? Now, if you're not on point with whatever that StockX number says, oh, you're overcharging or you're undercharging. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
You remember them Flight Club prices back in the day when they were the only game in town? Yep.
Flight Club is crazy. We were just in New York. We didn't hit Flight Club, but you walk past Flight Club and like they just get the tourists, the New York people that just travel to New York, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they just get them to pay these premium prices that are like unheard of because they're not even referencing StockX. So
right.
Flight Club is like creating their own market. So like you can be in there and the shoe says 500 on StockX. Flight Club, because it's Flight Club, they got it for 800, and people are just paying it. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah, man. And even like you can go to like any city, they got the same thing, like a place like StockX. I mean, like a Flight Club. Yeah, it's like crazy prices. And I remember there was this dude in Orlando that used to have a spot, and in downtown Orlando.
Okay, yep.
And he used to say, like whenever anybody said anything about his prices, he'd be like, "I got it. Everything is here. Like whatever dropped, like whatever fire drop came out." Travis Scott merch, Fear of God, anything, like any shoes, Supreme, like Babe, like any sought after drop, Antisocial, everything, he had it in various sizes. And he charged whatever he charged, and he's like, I have it. You can tell me about this and that, but I have it here right now. And he used to make hella money, and people used to buy mass stuff there because he had it.
Yeah, it's a supply and demand, you know, game. A lot of people get into it and they know, hey, I'm going to go after these items. I'm going to make sure I have a quantity of these items. And then once I'm in that position, I can kind of control the market to a certain extent in your area. And that's what it's coming down to now. Like, obviously you have StockX, which is an online platform that anybody can purchase from. But like in different areas, whether it's Atlanta or, you know, Florida, Orlando, or here in Connecticut, you have people who, you know, get a certain amount of an item. I know guys who get Yeezys come out tomorrow, he'll have 100 pair the next day. And because he has so many pairs off rip, he kind of controls the market in the area. You get what I'm saying? It's crazy how it is now, but that's the game.
Yeah, this dude, he used to know, like, he'd be like, oh, I got X amount of these. There was X amount delivered in this radius here. Like, he would literally know, like, how many shoes out of how many and who got what. Like, it was like, wow, bro. Like, this, like Quincy said, like, it's something that you don't even know exists. And then you get put onto it and you're like, dang, like, this deep right here.
It changes the way you see, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just kind of how, you know, to bring it all back full circle, how we was talking about earlier, the, you know, going to events. And it changes your thinking when you go to these events where it's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? There's a market for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can buy this for $5 or $10 and probably be able to sell it for $100 in a year. You know what I mean? Who knows? But there's a market for it. So it just really shifts that whole thinking process.
Yeah, it gives everybody that, like, almost like that business reseller, you know, mindset. It's kind of like whatever I do or whatever I'm into, I need to figure out, you know, what's the profit or what's the benefit of it? You know what I mean? It's crazy. And like, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, as far as like how retail's changing a little bit, like shifting away from, you know, the corporations like Foot Locker, Finish Line. I used to work at Nike and a couple other spots, and it's crazy how now, when we were talking about how dudes having 100 pair, 200 pair, whatever shoe come out, what's going on now is, obviously you guys heard of it, backdooring, where people like the manager at Foot Locker, they're not supposed to do it, but hey, Joe comes in and is like, yo, I got 20,000, give me your size run of Jordan 5s. And the manager's like, well, hey, I'll do that. They plug in, the money for whatever pairs they had into the system, legit, and then they keep the extra. And that's going on every day, and people aren't catching on to that. But it's just crazy what people are doing for, these items, like illegally, basically.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The crazy to think about illegal in that sense when you're talking about clothes, you know what I mean, or shoes.
Yeah.
Well, there's a way to make money, but there's somebody that's gonna try to, really get it. Like
exactly. Then think about what's going on with gas and what's going on with groceries. It's like I'm pretty sure that's a whole nother. There's probably people tapped into that. You know what I mean? And we don't even know what's going on with groceries. There's probably people backdooring, pounds of ground beef and shit like that. We don't even know. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they be, like you said, they be doing it in like every industry you could think of. You know what I mean? Like pretty much everything that goes on in every like Quincy said, if there's money to be made, them things are gonna be around it. You know what I mean? Like it's never just gonna be straight up and down. It's always gonna get complicated, and you're always gonna have all them things going on in the background, no matter what it is.
Yeah, it's scary to a certain extent, because now it's like with anything I do or anything we do, you got to make sure that you're on it so that you're not getting worked. You know what I mean? You got let me think about it this way, because I don't know if this person's trying to finesse me. You know what I mean?
I mean, you told me like multiple stories of just like having to like be on, on 10 as far as just on point with everything because of people trying to steal from you at these events. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And then obviously, like even when we went to ThriftCon, like it's you, you know what I'm saying? Your lady. I mean, we just happened to be there because you was in our city, and we were there, But it's normally you, your lady, and maybe your brother, But aside from that, you gotta watch for hundreds of people at a time at some points. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that goes down to like how you even set up your booth. You know what I mean? We were talking about earlier about like the process of getting ready for a show. It's more than, just the product. It goes to like how many racks you have, how much space you have, how you set up your racks, how you set up the hangers on your racks. You know what I mean? If you ever noticed, you probably didn't notice it at our booth, all the hangers were facing inside so that you could take the item off inside. We didn't have any hangers on the outside. So if you were on the outside of our booth, you could take an item off and keep going. Yeah. You know what I mean? Little details like that, you may not pay attention to, but all that goes into like setting up for a show just so that it goes smoothly. You don't really have to stress over people trying to take stuff from you, or, too many items coming off the rack, you're not really knowing where stuff went or if it's sold or not. It's a lot that goes into it.
And I'm glad you said that, because it kind of leads me to something that I kind of wanted to close with, is like those little details, and even going back to like saying, which pieces are sought after, you're taking the time to rework it, you're taking the time to clean it and get it to that right condition. Like all those things is what makes those pieces worth a while. You know what I mean? Like, I know sometimes people will like, you'll talk to certain people and you'll tell them how much you spent on something and be like, dang, you spent that much for that? But it's like, yeah, this is gonna last me so much longer than what you're buying though, because there's a reason why what you bought was $5-10, you know what I mean? It's because it's that quality. You're not gonna end up wearing that more than a year from now, you know what I mean? It's not gonna last you, It's like those like details and that quality is what people need to pick up on. Like when you're buying clothes and stuff, it's not just specifically about fashion. It definitely is, and that's a big part of it. But it's also you're checking the stuff and make sure it's something legit. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure it's happened to you before that you were looking forward to a drop, and then when you get your hands on it, you're like, oh man, this is what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quality control, different little things. Like I tell people all the time, like people come into the shop, and a lot of people, we're not just selling t-shirts and stuff. We're still trying to like educate people, because people, like everybody doesn't know. So like people will come into the shop and like, yo, can you just tell, like in a nice manner, they'll say, can you tell me why this shirt's $150? And I'll break it down to one, the shirt being original from, that event or that, that time in the world. Two, sourcing it. A lot of people think that because we run a vintage shop, everything's thrifted. Everything's not thrifted. You know what I mean? We go to these shows, we pay premium, we actually curate our selection. Like when I go to a show like ThriftCon, Quincy was there with us. We walk around and I'm looking for specific pieces. You know what I mean? we're in Connecticut, so I may be looking for like Yukon or, like Yankees. We saw a lot of Yankees stuff, Patriot stuff, Boston stuff, like up north teams and stuff like that. Concerts that took place up north. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit more that goes into it, and all of that affects, the price. You know what I'm saying? And we try to help people understand that when you're buying vintage, you're buying pieces, you're buying art pieces. It's not just like you're going to Kohl's or Urban Outfitters and you're buying a t-shirt because you need one. This, like you said, it's going to last longer. The quality is better. It's a ton of different aspects that go into it besides just, paying $150 for a shirt. So I try to make sure whoever comes into our shop, whether it's, at the store or at an event, that we educate them to a certain extent so that they understand what they're purchasing. We're not just trying to sell you a shirt. You know what I mean?
Dope. Yeah, man. I'm glad we were able to redo this, man, because like I said, when I heard the other one, I'm like, man, this definitely isn't it. And I'm glad that we did it again because I feel like now we got like the right vibe and we got into it the way I wanted us to get into it. You know what I mean? All the stuff we've been talking about, man, like if people that are listening are not really into that, you know what I mean? Just kind of keep your ears open to it now and keep your eyes open to it, like when you go to certain places and do certain things, because, you can have these pieces and a lot of times it's not always expensive, you know what I mean? Like if you catch it at retail, like even like with things like Supreme, people are like, man, Supreme is super expensive. It's like the resale is expensive, but when you catch it retail, it's pretty much, a regular price for something, and it's usually going to be a way better quality. So it's always worth it to explore it. So definitely, James, let them know again the name of the shop, where it's located, how they can get at you online to see the pieces y'all got. I seen, I follow you guys, so I always see all the dope stuff you're posting. So just go ahead and let people know.
Definitely. So we're based in Hamden, Connecticut, and the name of the store is Flight Vintage. Our Instagram is flightvintage_. We also have a women's rework page, which is flightgirls_. Catch us, check out the page. Catch us, at shows and in different cities, and anything like 80s, 90s, Y2K, streetwear, sneakers, a little bit of everything is what we do. So definitely tap in with us for sure. Appreciate y'all again for having me back on. Definitely glad we got to, get it in again. I'm definitely a little bit more seasoned with the podcast now because I did a couple myself. So definitely appreciate y'all for sure.
Dope. Let people know about your podcast too.
Definitely. Check out our podcast. It's just Flight Vintage on YouTube. We talk about business within vintage clothing in general, how to run a business, a little bit of kind of like what we talked about today, the education of vintage clothing and streetwear and sneakers, just kind of how the game works, and just educating people a little bit more on that fashion world, and getting people tapped in on that for sure.
Nice.
That's super dope. Anything you want to add, Quincy, or anything you want to recap with or anything?
Yeah, nah, man. Just, again, appreciate you for coming back on, James. I'm definitely going to tap into your podcast just because, like I said, the more knowledgeable I get about the topic, one, just from a business aspect, I'm always looking at ways to make bread, but also from a more exclusivity aspect as well, and just kind of getting more knowledgeable about what's standing time, because there's a lot of stuff that's here today, gone tomorrow. And if I can cop stuff that's, been around since the 90s, that's still withstanding time, still has a demand for it, that's dope. It makes you feel good even wearing it,
Definitely.
Facts, man. Yeah, y'all know what it is. It's a Grounded show. Thank y'all for tapping in. We've been getting into it lately. Joe wasn't able to make it today, but he's definitely going to be on in the next episode. We're going to get into that zeitgeist, Quincy.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you've seen or heard of it, James, but you might want to tap in for when we drop that episode, because we're going to be talking a lot of crazy outer space type stuff. You know what I mean? So you might have to put a little tinfoil hat on. You might have to smoke a joint, just to be able to listen. But it's going to get crazy, man.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to definitely tap in with y'all for sure.
Yes, sir.